and welcome to Aidan Phillips / Whovian Espresso, well, aka Whovian Espresso. This is a long story behind this channel, which is sort of a bit odd. I have two channels. I have my main channel, which sort of exists, which is Whovian Espresso, and this one, which is sort of odd because I never really uploaded content on here until recently. I started uploading some odd things, to say the least, being the infamous Whovian Espresso versus David Tennant video, and Tom Baker screaming for 1 minute, and the K1 fan cam, which I'm sure is very much quality content, but I thought I would try something a bit more experimental and use this channel for something more interesting. And in this case, it's Big Finish reviews, and I've never really done Big Finish reviews before. It's interesting because Big Finish has been around a long time, so there's a very big back catalogue of stories to get through, and I neither have the time nor the money to do so. I do have Spotify, but again, there's loads of stories on there. There's a massive archive of stories. There's no hope of me ever getting through all of them, but I mean, I'll try. I'll listen to the odd one. I've listened to the free ones. I mean, it's sort of hard to keep up with everything that comes out as well, and it's such high prices as well. But this year for my birthday, I did try and make an effort to buy something that was relatively new, and thought it was interesting because it's rather topical at the moment. And this is going to be a running theme this video, because I'm also going to be talking about Time Lord Victorious. I'm also going to be talking about a couple of recent comic releases as well. And this is is David Tennant Overused, which is sort of going to link into my Out of Time review, because honestly, I've never listened to something that's made me so happy in my entire life. It's honestly one of the best things I've ever listened to, Out of Time. I was just so... when it was announced, I went mental, honestly. It's one of the few Big Finish announcements where I've honestly been like, hold up. I was like, I need to buy this now. But I didn't buy it. I resisted until the reviews came out. And I think it's been interesting because this year we have seen a lot of David Tennant content, and I think there's a lot of people who are sort of being rather ungrateful about it. To be honest, I think a lot of people online claiming, oh yeah, it's just David Tennant because he sells well, and it's kind of like depressing and all that. I'm just like, be grateful, because like I remember 2016. Does anyone even remember 2016 anymore? When there was literally nothing, pretty much. I mean, sure, there was the comic and the magazine and everything, but there wasn't any huge like multimedia stories like Time Lord Victorious, was there? So, I mean, people should really think about that, to be honest, because yes, we're getting lots of David Tennant stuff. Yes, David Tennant is popular. There is a reason for that. He gives a phenomenal performance as the Doctor, in my opinion. I mean, you're free to disagree with me, but he does. In my opinion, I think he is genuinely one of the best Doctors. And I think perhaps that's probably why he keeps coming back as well. I also have to appreciate that David Tennant is a very big Doctor Who fan. I remember when Chris Eccleston was announced and everyone went wild as well. And because it's taken him a long time to come around to the idea of returning. So I don't know if Chris Eccleston is necessarily a big Doctor Who fan at all, but I think he does not necessarily look back at it in the same way that David Tennant does, or Peter Capaldi will. And so David Tennant has done a lot more crossovers because A, he's more willing. B, I think particularly probably one of the reasons why Chris Eccleston has done it as well is because in lockdown he's had nothing to do. Matt Smith is interesting. I think a lot of people say, why don't you bring back Matt Smith, because he was very popular too. But to be honest, Matt Smith is he's trying to do his own thing, which is interesting in a way, because I think he's very much trying to pursue his own career. He has had some successful roles, some not so successful ones as well, but he's been very popular in The Crown, so he's very much still on his A game in a way. Same applies for Peter Capaldi, really. He's still getting roles in films like David Copperfield and stuff. So, I mean, David Tennant is too as well. He's done Good Omens, but I think he's just more willing to return. I think the others are just sort of having to... I mean, just remember, like, if you think about it, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Peter Davison all returned probably more than a decade after they were the Doctor. And it's not been more... Well, it's been a decade since Matt Smith now, but it's not been more than a decade since, I don't know, Peter Capaldi or anything. So they're still fresh in the eyes of many people. So for them to come back, I mean, you think Peter Davison's reign ended in 83, and he returned in 1999, I think, when Big Finish started, probably, because it was their 20th anniversary last year. So that is a big gap between playing the Doctor, and Peter Davison went on to do a lot of other things after Doctor Who, and I suppose so does Sylvester McCoy. He's still, doing stuff, which is like a Hobbit and stuff. So it's very difficult because they are all very good doctors. I think a lot of people look at it. There are some people who I think just look at it and think, oh yeah, David Tennant's popular, and sort of resents him for that, which is sort of, in a way, kind of spoiling it for people who do like it, I think, in a way. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of things to bear in mind. Is David Tennant being overused? I think maybe he's being oversaturated. He is being used in a lot of different medias in concentrated format. I maybe space it out a bit, but I'm quite happy for him to be returning. I love David Tennant. I really enjoyed the recent comic release of him meeting 13th Doctor and battling Weeping Angels and Nesty. It's all very fan servicey, but I love it because, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm not going to pretend that I don't love seeing the Doctor fight the Nestine and the Weeping Angels in the same story, but it's a very exciting story, and I do love the attention that Ten gets, because he does deserve it. I think all the Doctors deserve it, because in my house they're all equal and they're all amazing, and they all have their own sort of faults and, well, they all have their own, strengths and weaknesses. So they're all equal in my mind, personally. I mean, we as Doctor Who fans, we all try to rank them, but I think really it's sort of, they're all the same character. So there isn't really anything in my mind to rank, really, because they're all the same character. It's pretty much, a lot of the character traits are similar. It just sort of, I just sort of love all of them, really. So yeah, that's my take on that. Take that as you will. Let's actually review Out of Time. Sort of brief rant about whether David Tennant is being overused. So let's talk about Out of Time. It's a really good Big Finish story. It is not necessarily particularly, intense story. It's not particularly important, as you say, as much as, say, Day of the Doctor is as a crossover event. There's Daleks, there's the Doctor. It's like action figures, and you're having a hell of a lot of fun with it. I mean, a lot of people criticise it, use a child playing with toys and doing massive sort of action figure battles with Daleks and Cybermen, but really, like, you think of those kind of stories, but really the stories like Doomsday and this story and sort of all these episodes are just really fun to watch. They might not be much in terms of a story, but like in terms of something to listen to and something that you enjoy, like it's something you enjoy. Like, it's something you really have fun with. Even if it's not particularly extraordinary, you always tend to have a fun time with it. And I think it's very much true of this story. There's an interesting setting, this sort of space cathedral, and there's all great guest cast as well. And the Daleks are all hilarious as usual, being the Supreme Dalek returns. I think if I had one criticism, is that the Supreme Dalek and the Gunmetal Genesis Dalek sort of meet up for no reason. I guess that would be my main criticism. But to be honest, it just washes away, because honestly, David Tennant and Tom Baker's chemistry is incredible. They are two of the most, I think, two of the people who've defined the role of the Doctor the most. So it's like, in terms of the public psyche, I think they've definitely, they've definitely been the most remembered, and they've very much defined their version of the show. They've defined the classic era Tom Baker has, and David Tennant has very much defined the new series, I think. But they're all great Doctors, as I mentioned before. I'd probably keep them all the same if I could, but it's sort of difficult. But I think they have great chemistry together. I think I kind of wish that we could have seen it on screen, to be honest, because it is such a great story. Like, I suppose that is the limitation of an audio drama, but honestly, I just had so much fun listening to it and having all these Daleks fighting the Doctor, and it doesn't really matter that maybe there isn't necessarily a concrete reason for all this happening. I just have fun with it, which is ultimately the main reason for a piece of media, really, is to entertain. So I got no complaints from me. It's a really great story, I think, and it has a really fast pace, really fun, and like, it's just sort of, I remember by the time the theme was rolling at the end, I was sort of absolutely enthralled by the story. It was incredibly great and fun to watch episode, I think. So yeah, that is my review of Out of Time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take away some thoughts about maybe David Tennant being overused in the series, which I don't think he is, honestly. I know he's being in this VR game and everything, but honestly, if you think about it, David Tennant has actually only appeared in 2 of these audios, because he's technically only actually in physical appearance appeared in... Oh, I know he did appear... He's technically physically in Time Lord Victorious because he's in one of the audio adventures. So he's technically only in 3 of these. But, if you think about it, particularly in terms of Big Finish, they probably used the 8th Doctor a lot more. David Tennant's only done, 3 volumes and a couple of odd stories Out of Time. I don't see people complaining that Big Finish is overusing the 8th Doctor or the 7th Doctor or the 6th or the 5th. I mean, it's almost like everyone thinks it's really cool to hate David Tennant all of a sudden. It's just because he's popular, you don't need to hate on him. I mean, just sit back, enjoy the content, be grateful for it, and that's sort of the end of the video. Yeah. That's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave your thoughts on Out of Time below, or what you thought about this story. Do you think David Tennant's being oversaturated? I'd like to respect everyone's opinions. You can disagree with me, I get that, but share your opinion in the comments or whatever. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Yes, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, why not consider subscribing down below to the official Ruby and Espresso YouTube channel.